All right, Chief, are you ready?
Let's do it.
You were one of the OGs. I think we were talking about it before. You're like the 23rd guest, I think. So very, very early on in the scrap.
Yeah. You've blown this thing up since then, man. It's been fun to watch.
It has garnered a lot of support. I'm lucky person. Anything I missed in the intro? Anything you would like to add?
No, that's perfect. And other than I work for the best firefighters and paramedics in the country, and I say that everywhere I go, and I hope any chief says that. The rural county that I grew up in and volunteered in all my life until just a few years ago had a chief named Bill Homick, and he retired as, I forget, almost 40 years as a fire chief of a volunteer fire company. He was always on the forefront in our region of officer development and training. And what always struck me about him, and I was much younger than Bill, God bless him, but the way he held himself and talked to people, and that the way he always would approach a junior firefighter that had questions or was nervous or doing something for the first time, always stuck with me. How he dealt with people with who he didn't know or wasn't as familiar with, but he was always moving forward. We were doing a hose ops class at his department, all hands on, extending lines up the stairs, down the stairs, big lines, little lines, and he got on the hose. He was moving line. He wasn't doing it all day, but he was out there moving line. And that just was something that always stuck with me.
Leadership, your wheelhouse. No exceptions. Leadership. The new company officer leadership in a dynamic field like firefighting requires adaptability. How do you navigate the balance between traditional leadership principles and the evolving demands of the fire service?
I think by and large, you have to be willing to depart from those traditional leadership methods. You talk about autocratic and democratic and all these different traits, servant leadership even. You can do that to a fault. It needs to be more transformational. It needs to be more flexible. It needs to be more adaptable, not only to the people that you're working for and that you're part of a team with, but also to situations. It's no different than a fire ground. You pull up, you can have an SOG written that's perfect. But that one time, something's just a little bit different. You got to have license for your officers and your members to go, this isn't going to work right now. We need to pivot and do this. So I think the challenge for leaders in the future, in the dynamic range that they need to have, is to identify when to make those adjustments and not to be afraid to do it, and to depart from what's comfortable. And a lot of times what that really means is asking for help. And leaning on people that probably maybe have an answer that you don't, or know a little more than you don't.
Never been asked before. It's Jobtown, plain and simple. It's Jobtown. It's time. You're en route and responding. Slams that cassette into that tape deck, and it starts playing a song. What song are you playing en route?
I like a lot of the old music.
Okay.
And I'm a big Elvis fan. Burning Love, baby, from Alive from Hawaii.
We're live? Corley Moore, Firehouse Vigilance. It is weekly scrap number 209. My guest tonight is one and only Clay Magee. He's an instructor with Magic City Truck Academy, a lieutenant with Birmingham Fire and Rescue, as well as working at Chelsea Fire and Rescue. Clay began his career in the volunteer side of things back in 2004. He's got the degree. He is an author. He writes articles published in fire engineering. He instructs. He teaches all across the Southeast and beyond. Many of you know him from his presence on social media, where he is an active aficionado, raffle coordinator extraordinaire of any time there is a need in the fire service. He is on top of it when the time calls for it. He's married to his beautiful wife, Sarah. He has 2 amazing daughters. It is my honor and pleasure to have Clay Magee here as the guest of Weekly Scrap number 209. Welcome, my brother.
I'm excited to be here.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Pulling this up, make sure I got everything where I can see it. Maybe pulling up the notes. There we go. There we go. Getting everything in place. Anything I missed in the intro? Is there anything you would like to add?
That was plenty.
Plenty. Audience, get your questions primed and ready for James. For Clay and myself, we are going to cruise down some rabbit holes. Quick announcements. If you want to be a part of the Vigilantes, it's the Cool Kids Club. I say it every scrap. Go to firehousevigilance.com. The latest things we are doing is the scrap after party. Clay has agreed to show up at the after party and be critiqued on his scrap. And so we will be there afterwards, get feedback. Last week's was a ton of fun with Chief Hovelman, and we discussed his Elvis love. Now, on to the sponsor so we can get on to the show. The OG sponsor of the scrap is, of course, Key Hose, the hose experts. Check them out online at keyhose.com and follow them on Facebook. Affordable Drill Towers, home of the Affordable Drill Tower and the Affordable Standpipe Prop. Firefighter, owned and operated. Pump and roll using the Affordable Standpipe Prop. The Affordable Standpipe Prop fits through most classroom doorways for standpipe theory, and then you can roll it into the parking lot and pump. It comes with 6 standpipe valves that can be upgraded to PRVs or customized to what you have in your jurisdiction. Call Steve, 844-55-TOWER, or drop an email to info@affordabledrilltowers.com. Firefighter safety and accountability starts with being able to quickly find and identify individual firefighters operating on the fireground. Identifier safety combines the best in photoluminescent materials for durable firefighter identification solutions that can glow for up to 20 hours with no switches or batteries, which means being able to rapidly identify firefighters by name, unit, or assignment, even under hot fire conditions. Firefighter created, owned, and operated, Identifier Safety is the home for all of your on-scene identification needs, specifically designed and tested for rigors of the job. Be seen, on scene, identifiersafety.com or sales@identifiersafety.com. Finally, last one, fresh today, my man, John Spira. Fit to Fight Fire is a community of like-minded firefighters, all on a mission to become the best version of themselves so that they can serve their families and communities at the highest level. For only $5 a month, the cost of a cup of coffee, you will receive a workout of the day, daily inspiration, and monthly training. Head on over to patreon.com/fit-to-fight-fire to become part of that community. All right, all of that's done. Housekeeping done. Announcements done. Sponsors done. Clay, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Thank you. You let it off. I always send out the list of topics that I want to discuss, or that the guest wants to discuss. And I loved your list you sent back to me. Specifically, you let off with consistency and leadership. I love talking about leadership, specifically consistency and how it impacts team morale and effectiveness. So I'll just let you run and kick it off.
Yeah. So I'm definitely no expert in leadership. It's one of those things I enjoy to read about and take classes. But yeah, consistency and leadership, the lesson itself, I'm sure I've probably heard it more than once for the need for leader to be consistent day in and day out. But the one that really sticks with me is hearing Todd Edwards talk about it. But I bring it up because in my own personal life at work, we had an incident that just really hammered home that idea. And I think that's a lot of times what it takes is that you'll hear an idea, it sounds like a good idea, but then something happens that really drives home the point for you yourself.
Right.
And so it's a self-reflection on me. We had some changes in our company earlier in the year, and I was in personally, because of some people that had left, some of my best friends had been promoted out of the house on my shift. I just kind of in a bad place, and some people came in. I didn't step up and do what I was supposed to be doing. Wasn't trying to bring people up to our company standard, and it showed itself at a fire. And some of my crew got a little hot with one of the other ones, and I mean, to the point that when we got back, instead of having fun and high-fiving and all that stuff, we had to sit down and have a round table. And we had a guest that had come over for the shift, and I sent him off and was like, "This doesn't involve you. We got some crew business to take care of." And we hashed it out, but that big lesson for me was I hadn't been consistent. And because it hadn't been consistent, the ball got dropped. The fire didn't go the way it should have gone. And there's nobody 100% to blame but me.
Wow.
So, yeah.
No, I love the lesson of consistency, and it's always such a tough one to learn and have to swallow. And so many times people dodge and try to put it on other people rather than just shouldering the blame. So one thing I love hearing you say that is it starts with you. Here we go. I'm going to read a few comments coming in. Patrick Van Diver says, Clay Magee, 19A shift, tuning in. Joe Kelly said, let's go. Bradley Feely gave a let's go. Chaz Stringer said, first fire conference was with Magic City. Clay's awesome and love what he's doing for and in the fire service. Peyton, yes, gentleman as well. Brian Brush called you a gentleman as well. John Spear said, good man, exclamation point. You got some good people calling you a good man, so it must be true.
That's awesome.
Someone said, most excited I've ever seen Claiborne. That's from Hunter Knight. I'm trying to get the excitement.
He's my lieutenant at my part-time job. So I drive for every shift. So yeah.
Nice.
I normally start off anytime I teach, especially when I lecture. I always tell people the Ben Stein of the fire service. Like, I'm super dry, but I got to find something new. Somebody brought up the fact when I taught at Mapsy this past year that like half the kids in the room don't even know who Ben Stein is.
Ben Stein was.
I got to find somebody else to equate it to, but yeah, I'm pretty dry normally.
Gotcha. My quest will be to squeeze out the dryness as we continue. That's my quest, and also the audience's challenge. BJ Breacher said, "Good evening from my tub and bonfire in Wisconsin." John Naninga said, love this man. There you go. First class firefighter. Okay. So through the hype, absolutely. Leading each member by their needs and personality can be challenging, but a crucial aspect of leadership. How do you approach this delicate balance of individualizing leadership with the people you're in charge of?
Yeah. So this is one I struggle with. I have a hard time reading people sometimes. So I think the more reserved they are and the harder they are to read, the more challenging it's going to be to figure out how to get across to them.
Right.
I use an example of two guys. Neither one are on my crew anymore. One was older, in his mid-30s, Air Force veteran. Did deployments to Afghanistan. And if he screwed up, or if I want to give him a hard time, I could call him a name and yell at him and poke fun at him, but he got the point. I could be hard on him. He responded well to that type of treatment in a jokingly manner. Like we've had a couple of young kids come through the firehouse where you really have to figure out how to get in touch with them. One in particular, I never did kind of figure out, what was going on, get on to them about stuff. And when I say get on, I'm just talking about, hot washing, like, here's how you screwed up. And it always looked like I killed his puppy,
Right.
And I don't know if you never could figure out on that level if it was like he didn't want to hear it or if it was the face of like, I let somebody down. Because I know how I am. I've had leaders like that in my life where particularly one chief that it was like, like when you're growing up and your dad says you really let me down, like that's the most devastating thing that can happen. Like I had
massive disappointment.
I had a chief like that. Like all I had to do was just tell me something, yell or cuss at me or anything. He just said, I'm disappointed in you, and you screwed up, and it ate at you. So I mean, yeah, that's one of the big things as a leader. You have to figure out each individual. Do your best to get to know them. What drives them? Why are they there? There's so many people in the fire service for so many different reasons, especially at a larger organization.
Right.
I know, like my part-time job working at Chelsea, it's a small organization. We got 12 guys on shift, and for the most part, everybody's there because they want to be a firefighter. Most of us have put ourselves through recruit school. With it being a small city, you know, we don't really want to pay for people to go when we can hire a ready-made firefighter. But then working for a bigger city where we're hiring people off the street, you know, you got some guys there that are young and gung ho and into the job already because they volunteered or they came from somewhere else. You got some guys that can be, you know, brainwashed, for lack of a better word, into a gig culture. And you got some guys that are just there for a pension and a paycheck. And, you know, they'll tell you like, hey, you know, the market crashed in 2008 and I needed a job. And so I put in for everything on the website and this is what I got. And the struggle is finding how to interact with all of them, how to get your mission across to them. And so it takes time and it takes work. And I think that's also where that consistency and leadership comes back into it. You got to be consistent with giving your message to them, making them accountable for standards, and understanding the why behind why we have the standards.
Right. Preston Lyons makes a point. He said, military veterans are taught early on how to deal with someone screaming in your face while you stare at the wall and respond with, yes, sir. And people that come from that background can handle that kind of thing. Absolutely. Yeah. Have you learned tips and tricks, especially between your two career departments? Have you learned different things to let you identify what people can, or any sort of tips or tricks to pass on that people can use?
And I'm still learning myself. It's the biggest thing I think is just getting to know them. Get to know them, invest in them, let them know you care, and then really find out why they're there. You know, what's their purpose for why they're there. And I think if you can find out their purpose, even if it's not some grand purpose of I wanted to be a fireman, but it's just I needed a job. Everybody's got something they can contribute. You just got to figure out how to tap into it.
Right on. Got questions coming from you. Get it up here from the stream. And BJ Breacher said that silver lining in the disappointment that young fire felt is he cared. That's the good part, is when you have that disappointment, it's because they cared. We have to harness that care. And it's a great point from BJ. Brett Ashworth with the first question. He says, Clay, talk about bridging the gap between working in both an urban and suburban environment. What do you see as the benefits / drawbacks in both?
Yeah, that's a good dude right there, by the way. Yeah, so obviously the benefit to working in an urban environment is going to be the fire duty, right? That's what always kept me where I work. You know, it's the same story. Just about every guy you talk to when you go to a conference that works at a big city, guys are leaving left and right. Come there, get a little bit of experience, and they want to go somewhere else, right? That doesn't have the headaches and the frustrations. But for me, fire duty's number one. And that's number one job satisfaction for me. So, I mean, with that comes experience. You're getting to do what you signed up to do. The downside, I think, with working with a urban environment is there's not always a chance to, I guess, practice your craft for everything that you want to do, right? So you're putting so many people on scene so quick. You got 5 or 10 minutes a lot of times to do something, and then it's somebody's relieving you. So if you're wanting to actually play around and do stuff, you don't have a whole lot of time. The suburban environment, the lack of fire duty is definitely the downside. But man, I can't speak for all suburban departments, but where I work part-time, which I say part-time, I work full-time hours there too. We have a great department, a great administration, a great city that supports us. And that's something that's completely different, I think, than a lot of urban cities, right? Anything we want, we get. And it's just a different culture. You know, I don't know if I can really equate any lessons learned. I think a lot of the stuff that we try to apply in the suburban environment we're going all out on that, you know, for water ops. And working in the urban environment, we're a big forward department. at Birmingham, and a lot of people want to lay in, on the way in. I think there's a lot that can be learned from both sides that urban and suburban would do well to talk to each other
Right.
and actually come to an agreement on things instead of saying, well, we go to fires, you don't know what you're doing. And I don't know.
Sure. No, absolutely. I love the answer. Greg Redmond said there's not a lot of me time in the urban when there's that many people showing up.
Yeah.
No, a great way of saying it. Great way of saying it. Yeah. In the fire service, mentorship is often seen as a vital component of personal and professional growth. You mentioned something. You talked about the idea of Paul, Barnabas, and Timothy. And I'm a preacher's son, so I know the reference and I get the reference. But in a firefighter's career development, talk to me about what you meant.
Yeah. So I like to try to bring my faith into things, and I really like the outlook of Paul, Barnabas, and Timothy. Right. So for anybody that's not not into the Bible or a Christian or anything like that, Paul, Barnabas, and Timothy were three guys in the New Testament. Paul obviously was a Jewish priest that became a Christian, and then he had Barnabas, who was kind of a mentor and a peer to him, and then Timothy, who was a young convert that Paul mentored. And so that's one thing our pastor always talks about at church. Like every Christian needs a Paul, Barnabas, and Timothy, and I think it applies really well to the fire service. We all need, we say we have mentors. We say we have people that influence the career. Like when I teach a lecture class, one of my first slides is probably like 50 names of people that have either directly or indirectly impacted my career.
Right on.
Guys I know, guys I've never met, just reading their works or following them on social media or whatever, but people that have impacted me. But a true mentor is a relationship that you have, and that can be a mentorship to where it's strictly one-sided, to where they're pouring into you and investing into you, or it can be a peer mentorship. One of my best friends, he's a battalion chief now, but he was my station captain for the last couple of years. He'll sit there and say that I'm his mentor, and I'll sit there and say he's my mentor, and it's on different things, right? He says I'm that because of what I bring to him as far as talking about fire duty, and for me, it's leadership. He's been one of the biggest mentors in my life as far as leadership and not being hot-headed and things like that. So I think having somebody that can invest in you, and then having a peer that you can go back and forth with, that you can grow together with, just someone to talk to on a daily basis about your problems. Even if you're not looking for advice, that one person that you can bounce stuff off of, and they're just there to listen to you. And then I think we all would do well to find one or two people like Timothy and really invest in them, right? It's like the pastor always says, our goal as Christians is to make disciples that make disciples to make disciples. So if you reach that one person, and that one person reaches one person, right, it just continually builds. And that's how we take our fire service back.
Love it, man. I love the analogy. Now, I will ask you this because, like you said it very well. We all have our mentors. I think we can all agree that we all have our mentors. And if we sit down and, especially over a beer around a fire, we can sit and discuss them. But the peer-to-peer is really something I don't know if I've ever actually thought about really in that regard as a mentor relationship, but it absolutely exists. Do you have, like, if people who are listening, a young person especially listening, who wants to find a mentor, maybe they don't have them in their small department or something like that. Do you have any advice for finding a mentor? Any tips or tricks that have worked for you, things you've learned, wisdom to pass on?
Yeah. So the biggest thing that I'll tell everybody at both my departments and anywhere that I go is get outside of your own department. All right. So say you work for a small department, you're a young guy, and you just think there's nobody there that understands the passion that you have or that's pouring into you the way you want to be poured into. You got to reach outside of your department. But the way you reach outside of your department is you got to go places. You got to go to these conferences that are out there. You're going to meet people. Some of my best friends that I consider mentors, I know from just going to conferences. People that I talk to, I got a group chat that's Anthony Rouette, John Ananiga, and Joe Dombrowski from Stamford, Connecticut, and we talk probably 2 or 3 times a week. All those guys are mentors, and every single one of them I've met going down to Pensacola. So yeah, that's my biggest thing for young guys is get outside of your own. Even if you work somewhere and you got people that are investing in you, get outside and go find other people. And that's the big thing with peer to peer is I've learned like all the things that I feel like are bothering me and all the complaints that I have about a job. I call John and he'll tell me the exact same crap coming out of where he works.
Right.
We have these same problems everywhere. And I think that's one of the biggest things with networking and meeting people and finding mentors is just understanding that it's not just you. Whatever your complaint is, whatever your problem is, there's thousands of us with the same complaints and problems.
Right on, brother. Right on. And getting outside your bubble, so important. I mean, he said it. And speaking of Joe Dombrowski, he said, get out of your bubbles. Get outside of your apartment. 100 changed my career in a way I couldn't have predicted. That comes from Greg Redmond. Mentors, where's it at? Mentors are an amazing gift. Where do you look when direct mentorship is lost? And like he said, man, those conferences are an amazing way to do so. Online, I have yet to reach out online and been disappointed, like where someone was just an a-hole or something. Amazing way to reach out and find people online also.
Yeah, 100%. John Spira, I talk to him, I don't know, probably at least once a week. Never met him, but he's definitely been a mentor, a friend, and an advocate for me and my fitness journey over the last 18 months, I guess. Yeah, most of the guys, if you don't have anybody, you're on social media, you can kind of start picking out who's real and who's not, right?
Right.
The real ones will talk to you. They're not going to be pissed off because you message them on Facebook and you want to chat, right? Firemen love to talk about fires and fire departments. So if you don't have somebody, find somebody that you think you want to talk to and reach out to them. Worst they can do is say no, right?
Absolutely. Hey, and get on the scrap and post your questions on the scrap. It's a phenomenal way to make connections with these people. Some of the best in the service. Absolutely. I want to ask, because we're on social media, just on the question, not a planned question, but the raffles, the giveaways. You've become kind of known for raffles, giveaways, and all for good causes. I'm trying to say it the right way: charity or fundraiser. Phenomenal stuff. Talk to me how that started.
Yeah. So I actually got the idea. If you'll remember, way back in the day, man, I don't even remember what year Kyle started Engine Company Resurrection, but in the very beginning, he was doing raffles, and the idea was that he was going to raise money and send people to conferences.
Right.
So that's where I got the idea originally. But it started, I don't know, I think it was 2017 or 2018. A guy on our job had a kid. His child was born with a heart defect. So that one started kind of small. Honestly, I don't even remember how much we got him. It wasn't huge. It was a couple of thousand maybe. But enough to help him with being out with part-time work, with parking and food, being at the hospital and all that type of stuff. And in the beginning too, what I would do was I would reach out to friends that own companies and be like, hey, can you sell me this leather helmet at cost? Or can you sell me a set of irons at cost or whatever? And so we would raise the money and then I would buy that item out of the money we raised. And as time's gone on and as it's grown, as I've made more friends, as people's found out that it's real. And I remember when we did the Baltimore raffle, Baltimore and St. Louis Line Duty Death Raffle. We did that one big one, which I can't even remember how much that was, like 40,000, I think, or something like that. I remember we were trying to really sell it, and we wanted to put it on most boring engine company in the world on Facebook.
Right.
and which is kind of a satire. They're kind of like Kifty if you aren't familiar with them. And they messaged me back and they're like, "I will kill you if you're like, not legit." And I was like, "Man, reach out to these people. They'll
Really? That's awesome.
yeah." I mean, so it turned out that I think the guys that run that page are from somewhere in the Northeast, so I think they knew some of the Baltimore folks. But yeah, as it's grown, it's gotten to where, and I always feel so guilty doing it because it seems like these things come in bunches. Like we've had 3. I've had to do 3 for Birmingham in the last like 6 months.
Right.
We had a brother whose mask came off in a fire and he went up in the hospital. We had a guy had a porch come down on top of him and it ripped his patellar tendons away on both his legs. And then we had the shooting
Right.
at the fire station back in July. So it's always seems like it's one thing after another, but everybody that I reach out to, Todd, Anthony, Mitch Hunter from Fire Mall,
Yeah.
Joe Yaller, Chris Kessinger, all these people are always gracious to, for the most part now, donate stuff. So it's one of those things I always tell people to be like, "Man, you did such a good job getting this out there." I'm like, "Man, if it wasn't for the brotherhood donating stuff, and if it wasn't for the guys willing to pay out of pocket to play the game, all I do is facilitate. It's nothing."
That's not nothing, man. It's a lot of work and and if you didn't, someone has to do it. So hats off. I want to say hats off. Absolutely. Which is a great way to segue into this next question because just the humility right there, saying I'm just a facilitator. But many instructors in the fire service experience imposter syndrome. So I want to let you talk about imposter syndrome. But for those who don't understand the term, first define imposter syndrome according to Clay Magee, and then we'll discuss, many instructors in the fire service and dealing with it.
Yeah, so to me, it's that feeling of you don't belong, you're not good enough. I think a lot of that comes from people. There's always little birds in the background telling you that the biggest thing is when you start teaching, somebody in your department's gonna be like, "I know who you are. Who are you to teach something like this?"
Right.
Like I know more fires than you. Like where I work full time, I'm a lieutenant, and I'm a paramedic, unfortunately. And we're very South Florida based fire EMS, right? The Birmingham metro area. Most departments provide transport. We call them rescue units. And where I work full time, lieutenant paramedics are assigned to the ambulance, to the rescue. It's not strictly an ambulance. Like we have our bunkers, we got our SCBAs, we got our tools. So we're going to fires, but you may not be going to as many fires as the engine your house will because you're on the road going back and forth to the hospital and stuff like that, right? So
Sure.
For me in the beginning, it was kind of that culture thing, thinking, and they may not even been doing it, but knowing our culture, thinking people are talking about me behind my back, like, man, he rides a rescue unit. What does he know? Stuff like that. But it's the more people I've talked to, I found that out. Like you never feel like you're good enough, right? Like there's always that's my biggest thing with writing. Like I struggle so hard to come up with topics to write about because anything I write about that's truck related, if it's forcible entry, Champ's already written it, or Chief Morris has already written something on it, or my mind just went completely blank.
But I'm with you. There's a lot of heavy hitters out there that have written a lot of stuff.
But that's the thing. If people didn't write stuff and repeat it, then there wouldn't be a monthly issue of Fire Engineering coming out every month. So.
Right. No, phenomenal, man. And I mean, I feel like that the imposter syndrome. I didn't know what it was. Someone posted it, I think, a couple of years ago in Facebook, and I had to go look it up and read the wikis on what what imposter syndrome was. Like, holy crap, that's me. Because I keep thinking someone's going to laugh at me and tell me that the scrap is, no one's actually watching, and you know what I'm saying. And it's like because you just never feel good enough. It's like someone else way more qualified should be doing this.
Yeah, it's definitely a real feeling, and I think it takes a little while to get over, and it kind of becomes you just have to not care, man. Like,
right,
do what you set out to do. You know who you are. You know what you're making a difference. people wouldn't be bringing you in if you weren't contributing something.
Absolutely. And I think it's a strength and a weakness, because your humility is one of the things that causes imposter syndrome to be a thing, but it also keeps you hungry. You don't ever want to lose that humility. So it's just this dichotomy and this sword edge you got to kind of dance along. Because you don't want to lose that humility. You don't want to believe your own, you get published in fire engineering. You don't want to start believing your own press and start thinking, you know what I'm saying? So it's such a weird dichotomy to do. Absolutely. When it comes, let me read. I'll catch you up. Douglas Ott said, "I'll read anything with the name Clay Magee as the author. I really appreciate what you're doing." Shane Furuta chimes in, says, "My man Clay." Shane, how you doing? Amber Christian said, "If you've been to more fires, be humble and step up. Share what you know." Absolutely, man. And someone mentioned the mutts because of what you were talking about there. Peyton Price says, "When it comes to culture at a small suburban department, how could the backstep help positively affect culture change amid lack of fire duty?" Not an easy question, but it's a good one for you.
No, I'm thinking on it a little bit. We're real lucky at at Chelsea, where my suburban department, that the culture is coming from the top down. There's kind of a grassroots campaign, I guess, of a bunch of the younger officers, the younger firefighters, because we're a very young department. But it's supported by the leadership, and that's obviously, you can't ask for more with that. But culture change, whether it's suburban or whether it's urban, you can influence where you're at, right? You may not see the growth come of it. It may be so slow that it appears that it's not growing, or it may take off, right? Like sometimes I come back from a class as a young firefighter and come in and want to show somebody something, and it's the typical what you always hear, like, "We don't do that here."
Right.
You think you are type of thing. And then there's also the next person that's like, "Hey man, show me what you learned." I think the good thing about a small department is that culturally it's easier to change. The less people that you have to change, the quicker it can happen, the easier it is. But it definitely helps when you have that top down buy-in.
Oh yeah.
But talking about culture change, I think I like using our shift at Chelsea, and I like using one of my buddies there. So two of us in the last 18 months really realized our fitness was a problem, and we started working out. And this other guy, he didn't really work out, but he saw us losing weight. He saw us getting in better shape, right? He was always into the job, but I'll tell you what, we had a group go to Chief Ike came to town. I don't know, probably like 8 or 9 months ago, and did just a 1-day thing, and
Right.
and that one, it's like all of a sudden it clicked, and like we were talking about it after the fact. He's like, "Man, like I got to get in shape. I see you and so losing all this weight and getting in shape." He's like, "Start thinking, like if you you're into the job and you're getting in shape, and so is he, and like if my kids are trapped, do I really want me doing it, or whatever? Want y'all doing it?" So I mean that culture change can occur. All it takes is one pivotal moment for somebody to kind of have the lights turn on. So yeah, I mean, if you're at a small department and you're struggling with that culture change, I guess the big thing is keep your head up and know that it's going to be a lot easier for you to change somewhere like that than it would be if you went somewhere bigger. But just keep doing what you're doing. Get out there in the bay. If nobody else wants to train, get out there and train by yourself. People are going to show up and come out there and talk to you. They may not participate in the beginning, but they're going to come out there and ask you what you're doing.
It's awesome. No, powerful. Catching up, reading back. Carpe Fuego said, if you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowance for their doubting too. I never realized that the poem If was actually talking about imposter syndrome with that line until you posted it right there in that one of my favorite poems. So the fact that I never caught on until just now is pretty cool. Chad Ray said, Chavez is definitely not an imposter. Love you, Claiborne. Brett Ashworth says, question coming at you. On the subjects that you instruct, which is your favorite and why?
Man, so the two things that I instruct the most are forcible entry and ground ladders. That's hard. I like forcible entry better. I like the knowledge and the skill and all the different facets of it. But man, teaching hands-on ground ladders, especially with the class that we do with Magic City, when we get a good two-day dark side of ladders class somewhere at a conference, and we get students that are into the job, that want to learn, that are hungry, that class is so fun to teach.
Right.
Man, like I can't even describe. So the first day is all skill stations, right? So we progress with ladder review because we don't know everybody's skill set. So we start off with just roof ladders, 24s and 28s and 35s. And that's like the first half of the morning. And then as it goes on, it starts turning into all the things that people are there for, right? Like the throwing the cars through the windshield and any other type of alternative healing using dumpsters, just whatever you can find, all the way up to the splicing and the scaling. But on the second day after lunch, we do our version of the Paxton drill, which comes from the Paxton Hotel fire in Chicago. And for us, it's just whack-a-mole, right? So we divide them up into engine and truck companies. We'll take one group out or two groups out, depending on the number of students, and make them victims. And it's whack-a-mole. You see somebody hanging out a window or on a balcony or whatever, anything you've learned or done the last day and a half is fair game. Get the ladder in place, go up there, slap them high five, come back down and just readjust. And
just make it happen.
Man, we start out doing 10-minute rounds and they get gas and we start, dumping it down to 5. And we've only had a couple of classes actually last till about 4:30 or 5 o'clock. But just about all of them, man, I can't describe how much fun that class is.
No, I've heard so many times after OJ's scrap, and then so many people said, man, the Paxton drill at the end, the Paxton drill is so much fun. I mean, an absolute ass kicker, but so much fun.
Yes.
So I love it, man. Eric Wheaton coming at you, man. You got a lot of guys checking in on you. Eric Wheaton said, joining late, if you already mentioned it, but Clay, what motivated you to start your fitness journey?
Yeah, so we had a fire. I was on the engine that day. It was probably a year ago in April, I think. So anybody doesn't know anything about Birmingham, we're at the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains. So we're very hilly. And we got blocked out about a block and a half away as like the third due engine. And got off the engine, ran down the hill, hung a right, ran up the hill on the sidewalk, and then you get to the front of the house, and it's one of those where you got a retaining wall at the sidewalk. You got to go up the steps and climb up the front yard. And by the time I got to the front door, I started trying to mask up. I was already spent. And that was my big pivotal moment for me. I'd always made the excuse. Naturally, I'm a lazy person. That's just how I am. Growing up, anytime it came time to do something physical, I'd try to find the easy way out, right? So I played football in grade school. When it came to middle school, where it started with, before school workouts and all that type of stuff, I quit. Didn't want to do it. Played hockey, ice hockey. I know it's weird. I'm from Mississippi and we had ice hockey, but yeah, played ice hockey. Wanted to play travel hockey. Started doing travel hockey practices at 6 a.m. on Saturdays. I lasted 2 weeks. I was like, I don't care about doing this. The fire service is the only thing that I've ever really loved enough to commit to try to do something with it. And I've been in shape and I've gotten fat and then I've lost weight. I've yo-yoed a lot since I've been here, but I was at the biggest I'd been, and I always made the excuse in my head like I've never not been able to do whatever I need to do.
Right.
And that day changed it. I mean, hands down, I knew when I walked away after that fire, I was even more spent, obviously, when it was over with. But I started then, and I've been pretty consistent for the last, it's probably like 17, 18 months. The big thing for me always in the past is like I could go on vacation and be bad for a week and not be like come back and be like, well, I just blew everything like gain
Sure.
5 pounds and be like, I've blown everything I've worked for.
Right.
And just use that as an excuse. And that's the biggest mindset changes I've had is even when I've not been dialed on my diet, maybe even for a month at a time here and there, just not being crazy. If I do regress, don't use that as an excuse. Start new, start over. And too, I'm 38 years old. I don't lose weight like I did when I was 28.
Sure. Believe me, I understand that completely.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it's still a work in progress. I'm about halfway to where I want to be weight wise, and yeah. So
it's just the wake up call of that fire.
That was the pivotal. Like I knew I was out of shape because anytime we had to do our yearly PT test or something like that, like my 1.5 mile run time would be absolutely horrible, but I'd still pass because the standards are so lax. And I'd be like, well, that's a run. Like, who cares? I'm not running 1.5 miles on the fire ground. I only got to work for like 10 minutes here.
Right.
And then it's time to go to rehab. And but yeah, no, when I showed up at that front door and I wasn't ready to go, I knew something had to change.
It's awesome. Hey, at least you would, I mean, it may be a wake up call, but at least you listened.
Yeah.
And there's people that try to just still make the excuse away. Hunter Knight says his weakness is Mike and Ike's, even though it's top 5 worst candy in the world. So I feel like there's an inside joke there, but
Mike and Ike's are my weakness, and it's the number 1 candy in the world.
There you go. Heard it here first. Eric Wheaton said, good job, bro. All right. Helmet cams, talk to me. How they can enhance training and leadership development.
Yeah, so I feel like there's been a big push. Everybody's always afraid of getting sued and
right,
this and that. I think there's been a big push nationally. It feels like against them. I know we used to have them at Birmingham, and then our last chief that took over axed them right away. And of course, it happened right after. If you remember, I'm not a basketball player, so I mean a fan, so I hope I'm getting it right. It was Kobe Bryant that died in the helicopter crash, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So the whole thing with the LA medics taking photos of the wreck scene and all that stuff. So it happened right after that, right?
Right.
And it's talking about liability, like anything that you have is discoverable in court, even though it's your personal property, which I understand all of that, right? But the benefits to it, it's like everything else. If you're worried about it, implement a policy and enforce the policy, right?
And I'll say, like a lot of people have overreacted to the Kobe Bryant picture thing because the city of Los Angeles got sued for 17 million or whatever it was, and they lost. But it's because they took pictures with no training value whatsoever. It wasn't for training purposes. They couldn't prove they were for training purposes or anything. And so it was just strictly to make a profit off of the death, or that was the allegations that lost the case. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt your flow.
No, I didn't even know that. I just knew that they got sued over it.
Well, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it's to me it's invaluable, right? Like it's game time footage. I know some departments out there have it where they give their officers a helmet cam. That way there's some kind of accountability. And anytime I've heard of departments where anytime that they run a fire, they turn the SD card over to somebody else, and then they can disseminate that information as they need to. Whatever you have to do as a department, and I understand that that's a lot easier at smaller departments than big departments.
Sure.
But man, the ability to go back and see what you did, right? So I can't remember what it's called, but the not just auditory exclusion, but missing things when it happens in real time, right? So when you get amped up, you perceive things, you take in stuff, but you don't have any recollection of it afterwards. Does that make sense?
Yes.
I don't remember what that's called.
Auditory exclusion and the just focusing in and
yeah.
The gorilla can dribble the basketball right through the basketball players. You don't even see it.
Yeah. I forgot about that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think as an individual firefighter, the value there for helmet cams is just going back and seeing, you know, what did I miss? What did I miss? What did I hear? And then from the incident command standpoint, being able to see what you saw when you pulled up. Did I miss anything? Did I miss radio traffic? I've being a lieutenant, like occasionally I went up in charge of a fire for like a couple of minutes before chief gets there. But we had a fire last year, 2-story apartment. The whole top floor was rocking when we pulled up. And I took command from a firefighter that was riding the seat on the truck company. And man, it was like a freaking reports of jumpers, people trapped. Like it was a emotional test situation, right?
Right.
And I had no way to go back and study that and to see how I did. I had people tell me, you know, you sounded great on the radio, which that's always one of my biggest fears. I think I sound like a freaking idiot on the radio. Like I think
that's a shared fear for everyone. If they're
I don't want to use fillers, all this stuff. You hear that I don't want to be a screamer, which I always feel like I'm screaming anyways. But yeah, and it wasn't until I got a hold of the dispatch audio during the PIA where I actually went back and listened to it. And I was like, well, one, I sounded okay. But two, there were, like, I acknowledged things that I was told by fire alarm, and I have no recollection of ever acknowledging it. Right. Because I had so much sensory input. It was my first experience in that situation. And if I had never got a hold of those tapes, I wouldn't have ever known.
Right.
And so with a helmet cam, you have the ability to hear your size up. You have the ability to see what you saw and either took in or did not take in. And then honestly, one that nobody's ever really brought up to my knowledge is on bad scenes. I think it can help, right? So
ooh, okay.
We had a fire several years ago when we still had our helmet cams where my company pulled 3 family members out of a house. And when we got there, I got off the truck. The neighbor was sitting there yelling at me, you know, they're in this room right here. It's a conventional foundation, the elevated window, plopped my Halligan down up against the wall, jumped up on top to do a VES, fell right back out, down onto the ground, right? Neighbor helps me up. I go up again, try to push in, can't. There's something in my way. I immediately make the decision to back off and go in through the front door. I still know where they're at, right? Now I just got to take the long way to get there. And in my mind, like I was wrecked. Like it was a scene that involved kids. You know, I'm not ashamed to admit I came home crying that morning.
Sure.
And I was in such a bad place because in my mind I had wasted minutes trying to VES this room, which come to find out the headboard to a queen size bed was up against the window.
Up against the window, right? Yeah. God.
But in my mind, I had wasted minutes trying to get into this room. I mean, legit, like beating myself up. And then when I finally got the stones to go back and watch the video, it was like 20 seconds or 25 seconds before I made the decision, this ain't working. Let me do something else. And if I didn't have that video to back that up, then, you know, it would have been, I don't know what that would have been like for me.
No, you'd still be dealing with a moral injury because you couldn't get the explanation. Yeah. So, absolutely. I've never even thought about that aspect, the mental health aspect of it. Honestly, until you mentioned it here. That's brilliant. I do love it. A couple things. To Gary Arbuckle, the dings in the past were, we used to have the Facebook alerts. People could give coins that were worth like pennies and you could throw them and it would go ding, 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 ding. It was super annoying. It lasted from scraps like 75 to 102. We finally figured out what it was and got rid of it. So hopefully that's back in the back. Clay, do you have something that dings every once in a while?
No.
Okay, we're trying to find it. There's a ding that's going off every once in a while. We don't know where it's coming from.
My phone's on vibrate.
No,
What
it's not a big deal. What's
people
that?
like money?
Back then it was, but we turned it off because it was so
Turned
annoying.
off.
Well, I mean, it was pennies at nickels at a time, but
Uh,
they added up. Don't get me wrong, but it was super annoying. So it was like ching ching, cling cling cling, cling
Yeah.
cling, and it was really taken away from the scrap. It was you'd be telling a riveting story, and then cling cling cling, cling cling cling, and it's not like I turned down hundreds of dollars, So I don't want to be like. But no, okay, back to what people were saying. I love Monday morning quarterback, my own footage, always an opportunity to learn. Carpe Fuego said, holy cow, never thought of that. Amazing story. See? I don't know what that was. Did everybody else hear that one too?
Okay, yeah, so sorry, that was me. That's
Okay.
must be my laptop. That was my buddy from Memphis telling me to tell you that I'm worth quarters.
Quarters, okay. There you go. He got it in.
I'm
No big deal.
I'm computer illiterate. I don't know how to turn the sound off on my laptop.
It happens so infrequently, it's not a big deal. We just identified it. As long as it wasn't on our end, you're good. I wanted to get this question to you. It's coming from one of the Nelms brothers, Trey Nelms, saying, Clay, I'm proud of you, bro. Is it Trey or Daniel? I think I typed it wrong. I can't scroll. So it's a Nelms brother. Sorry, I've lied.
Probably
I think
Daniel.
it was Daniel because I was thinking of Trey when I typed in and I typed the wrong name. Daniel Nelms says, Clay, I'm proud of you, bro. Been looking forward to this. So what's the best thing we can do to improve recruit training? Thank you, Daniel. It was Daniel. Sorry, Daniel. I was thinking of your brother when I typed your name.
Oh, chunk, man. I don't know, brother. I feel like the biggest problem we have is time compression. I know for us, I think the need to get people in the field instead of, there's plenty of departments across this country, though. You hear them say, like, we got a 26-week fire academy. And you'd be like, all right, so that's, what are you sending them through? Paramedic school and fire 1 and 2? And they're like, no, it's just fire 1 and 2. Like, I think that's the biggest thing that's hurting folks is there's no standard. I know there's supposed to be a set amount of hours.
Sure.
I know places literally have a 6-week recruit school. 6 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And
of that 6 weeks, they'll spend 3 hours on building construction and 2 hours on fire behavior.
Yeah. So 6 weeks, and how they fit the minimum hours in, I don't know. But 6 weeks from 0 to firefighter 1 and 2. Then you got places that are taking 26 weeks to do firefighter 1 and 2. And it's a skills thing, especially if you're running a recruit class that's 25, 30, 40, 50, 60 people, like some places are. Do you have the manpower, the instructors that you need? Right? You can't handle that many people with just a handful of instructors. You need, I don't know what the going rate would be, but I'd definitely say you probably need an instructor for at least every 5 or 6 students.
Sure.
You need instructors. You need plenty of time with sets and reps. And I think that's the biggest problem nationally is that we're just trying to push people out too fast because everybody's hurting for people, large and small.
You'll figure out how to do it on the rig, or insert whatever. Yeah.
If you don't have that culture in the firehouse, they come out, we teach them the absolute minimum. Like this says turn a hydrant on 1 time and you can graduate. Well, we had them catch a plug 1 time. Send them out to the field in their first shift to catch a job, and they suck at catching a hydrant.
Right.
Well, did they go to a house where the guy cared more about showing them where the toilet brush was or more about like, hey, you're the plugman, this is your job. First thing that morning, let's go out and catch a plug and let's make sure that you can do this.
Right.
And so there's a big disconnect. That whole you'll learn when you get to the field thing only works if you have the culture that's gonna teach them when they get out in the field.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. I love the answer. Josh Brewer said increase hands-on hours. They spend a lot of time teaching them how to pass a test and not enough time teaching them how to accomplish the job at an entry level with hands-on skills. No, absolutely, Josh. Great answer from Clay. Great input from everybody. Absolutely. Healthy work-life balance. Challenge for everybody, but especially when you don't have an all-in family.
Yeah, so I bring this up just because it was something I struggled with in the beginning. Like, I got an amazing wife. She supports me 100%. I'm kind of in a weird spot because I work two full. A lot of people don't work two. I don't meet that many people that work two full-time fire jobs. I know all of us work two jobs, but like several years ago, I'd struggle with. You'd see people like Andrea Trestrell and Heather Yaller and
Right.
your wife and Jody Fisher and these ladies that are all in. They're with their husbands everywhere they go. They're into everything that's going on, right? Like it's almost like they love the fire service as much as their husband. Jessica Isaacson comes to mind, especially just from hearing their story that they've shared, like at COBC and stuff. And it's not my wife. She supports me,
Right.
but she definitely reminds me of my priorities. Which needs to be done because I'm a loose cannon, right? Like I start going down the road, before you know it, I'll have something every month for the first 6 months of the year. And when I'm already gone 2/3 of the year to begin with, every little thing I do, is more time away from my family. And in my eyes, it doesn't seem like, I take off from both jobs to go somewhere for a week. I'm really only missing a day with them. So in my eyes, it's like, oh, well, it's one more day, which it shouldn't be that way. But it's easy when you're the one gone all the time. It's easy to feel like that. But she's quick to remind me, that one more day is the day that you're supposed to spend with us. And yeah, so I mean, the biggest thing is, if your wife's not all the way in, man, I try to mute this stuff and I actually muted you. I don't.
You're good, brother. You're good.
Yeah, it's the big thing I want people to take away. If you're out there, if you're like me, if you're wondering like, well, why can't my wife be like so and so or so and so out there that's with her husband traveling everywhere? That's you have who God gave you. You're with the person you're supposed to be with. There's no question in my mind that I'm with the spouse that God wanted me to have. We have different passions. We have different interests. That's the way we were made. And who's to know? Like I'm also at a different time in life. One thing that I had to learn was that a lot of these guys are empty nesters or they have teenagers. I got a 6-year-old and an 8-year-old, right? Like,
yeah.
Or I'm sorry, a 6-year-old and a 9-year-old. Good Lord. It's just a different time of life.
No, everybody has. Yeah. No, without a doubt. Without a doubt. And if you ever start comparing yourself to other people, man, it's such a trap. It's such a trap.
100%.
I tell people all the time, they ask me, how can you travel? How can you do all this? And it's like, me and Amanda are empty nesters right now, and we have no grandkids. It's like this perfect window of the only thing we're missing is our dogs, so we can go and do like crazy right now. When you rewind 5 years ago, I'd been missing games and recitals and insert whatever. Man, it's just everybody's in a different period and time of life and different priorities, and you can't compare yourself to other people. Just make the best and do the best with what you got and throw yourself all into it.
100%.
With the person you're with.
That was the big takeaway that I want people to understand. Talking to the younger guys out there, like, don't get caught up in the trap that I did and just realize everybody's in a different spot. And, I'm happy to say, so that's the other thing too. Most that I've done up until this coming year has been with Magic City, mostly hands-on, right? So we're traveling with 4 to 6 dudes, sharing hotel rooms and stuff.
Right.
This coming year is the first year that I really had some stuff kind of break away on my own. And that's one thing me and Sarah have been talking about, like going on. We've talked about her coming to North Florida Fire Expo and the FDIC with me. So
nice.
I think that's one of those transitions is just kind of another time in life because my career, as far as an instructor, is taking a different path, or a new path is developing, and it provides new opportunities. So
I love it, brother. I love the message. I absolutely love the message, and I'm excited for the future and everything for you. Now, I love asking people this question. You have a bookcase behind you, so I'm excited about the question. Is book or books that you think firefighters should be reading? I love asking this question because I'm always looking for new books.
Yeah. So, all-time favorite book. I don't even have it. I just have the sleeve because I let somebody borrow it. I don't even has it.
Believe me, that yeah.
But Fearless by Eric Bloom is. I read this book in less than 24 hours. I could not put it down.
Really? Okay.
His story is absolutely incredible. Are you familiar with this one? Has anybody ever said it?
I have no. I mean, I have it in my list of to read, and it's moving. It's slowly as I finish books, it's moving up, but I have not read it. It's sitting in my bookshelf.
Jump it to the front.
Okay.
So short story. He was a drug addict in Arkansas that found God and joined the Navy and became a SEAL. Wound up on DevGru, SEAL Team 6. Overcame a lot of personal battles to get there, which I'm not going to spoil the book, but he's the only one that's ever done any of the stuff that he's done to get there. And just incredible story. Probably my favorite leadership book. I know it gets said all the time.
Great book. Great book.
Right. This is the one I got from John Spira. It's one of the monthly reads for the Fit to Fight Fire Patreon community. But Deliberate Discomfort, basically it's kind of a group like Echelon Front, right? But so each member of the group writes a story about something that happened to them and how being okay with being uncomfortable helped them survive.
Okay. The Stoicism sort of like modern, or is it different?
It's different. It's so Van Camp, the guy that wrote it, whenever he became a new officer in the Green Berets, he met with his first commanding officer, and the guy was like, "I want you to go talk to these people," and each person told him a story, and that's kind of what's being relayed in the book and the lessons learned, stuff like that.
Right on, dude. I love it.
But it was really good. So then on top of that, I don't have them with me, but To Sleep with the Angels by David Cowan is the story of the Our Lady of Angels fire in Chicago.
Okay.
Yeah. Excellent read. It's probably gonna throw a lot of people off, and everybody loves and Report from Engine Company 82 and stuff. But my favorite fire department read, just like for stories, is a book called 38 Years.
38 Years
by Bob Dombrowski. And this guy retired as the senior member of the Detroit Fire Department. And it's just story after story of his 38 years on the job in Detroit.
Oh, wow.
Big
book, small book?
I'm trying to remember.
Report from Engine Company 82 is pretty small in the grand scheme of things. That's why I was asking.
It's probably not much bigger. I had it on a Kindle, so I can't really tell you.
I'm with you. I understand that.
And then lastly, a book called Undaunted Courage by Stephen Ambrose. So Undaunted Courage is about Lewis and Clark.
Okay. I know the name Ambrose pretty well because, of course, Band of Brothers, big time.
Brothers, yeah. Lewis and Clark's like probably my favorite history story of all time. And I think it's incredible. Just what those guys went through. Being gone for 2.5 years, traveling up the Missouri River, running into hostile Indians, running into friendly Indians, only finishing their journey because of the kindness of strangers, and then just what they endured, like that level of adventure. Like I don't know, that it's an incredible story to me. I don't think it's been done like that since the Shackleton expedition back in the early 1900s. So, but yeah, it's definitely a great read.
Love it, absolutely love it, and I love Ambrose, so that'll make it good.
Yeah,
dude, that's a good list. That's a healthy list. Really digging it.
Well, I tried not to disappoint. I knew there were some that were repeats, and some that were
definitely worth repeating. I love them, and so which lends credence to the others, makes me want to read them. Bump them up to the front of the list. So we have a thing we do on the weekly scrap. It is the 5 questions for firefighters. There is no right or wrong answer. They are strictly your opinions, and then the points are assigned arbitrarily by me with the help of the studio audience. And all that being said, we are now in the 3rd iteration of the 5 questions. So it's the 5 questions for firefighters version 3.1. So what I want to know right now is, are you ready for the 5 questions for firefighters?
Let's do it.
Here we go. Number 1. What is the skill that has carried you through your fire service career?
Man, I had to think about this one when you started this over. I went with visualization, right? So it's that whole concept of go to a fire every day. I used to call it, until John Buttrick has an article he wrote, I think, called "Go to a Fire Every Day" or something like that. And before I read that, I just used to think I was a daydreamer, right? Like I'd be driving into work, or driving back from the hospital, or driving down the road on the engine, like whatever I was doing, I'd see a house and I just envision it being on fire, right?
Right.
Envision my size up, envision my report, uh, you know, be like, hey, somebody's trapped in that window right there. How am I getting in there? Uh, it's got casement windows. What am I going to, like, just visualizing everything. And I think that's really, I've seen it play out a couple of times in my career where I just kind of did stuff that maybe I didn't necessarily train on all the time, but I thought about more than once. I think it helps with practicing size up, especially once you become an officer, you start riding up in the seat. Just doing that stuff in your head. That's just that mental, it's mental repetitions. And I know that there's the science out there to back up that obviously physical repetitions are better, but mental repetitions can help in those situations. They give you that RPDM.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely. I love the answer, man. I'm a huge fan of Gary Klein and all his RPDM work. And when you said visualization, I was like, I didn't know if he was heading down that direction or not. But man, when you don't get the physical reps, when you don't get the experience, it's the best thing you've got is to visualize and plan, because it will add cards to your Rolodex. Not as good as going to the fire there, obviously. That would be preferred. But if you can't,
never as good as fire.
Right. But the visualization, man, it's the best thing we can control. Powerful answer, man. Max points out the gate. Yeah, James Michelisco said, anyone else do size ups when you're driving, or am I just a weirdo? Douglas Ott said, you're not a weirdo. Peyton Price says, nah, I do it too. So there you go, man. Visualization. Number 1, out the gate, nice and strong. Number 2, here we go. It's Jobtown. It's time. You're en route and responding. You got to think of the scene from Backdraft where he slaps the tape into the cassette deck. What song are you playing en route?
So, last week was the first time.
It was the first time ever.
Yeah. So I had a lot of thinking to do after I listened to Chief Halverman, and I sat there and I literally drove like with my radio like real freaking loud, try different songs, and in my head like I was making cue sounds and air horns, right? Like I had to figure it out, and I came up with Guerrilla Radio by Rage Against the Machine.
Rage. Tom Morello. I mean, it's hard to knock a great guitar riff.
Oh yeah,
brother. No, I love it. I love the answer. I'm gonna have to get it and play it, and then imagine the cue firing up at the appropriate times. Max points easy. So far, I mean, it's only been 2, so there's not a high bar. You guys are establishing what normal looks like for question number 2. So 2 for 2, max points. Guerrilla Radio. Number 3. What is your favorite fire service tradition?
Tailboard talk after a fire. That feeling when you get a good job, you get a good knock on it, when everybody's back there packing hose. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I know not every department does it, but we are very we always send people to rehab, right? For us, it kind of starts there. Like when your company gets sent to rehab and you go to the rescue unit, get your little cone cup of water and get your vital signs taken. Everybody starts talking. The mood's always good. I just love that feeling of the camaraderie. Everybody's in a good mood, right? Didn't matter what was going on earlier. But yeah, picking up hose, packing hose, the talk, the banner, uh, all the way back to the firehouse. That's, to me, that's one of the best times on the job.
Dude, I can't. Yeah. So far, 3 for 3, max points, easy max points. Max points are already coming in the chat. Tailboard talk, especially after a good job, man. Is there anything better as far as your tradition goes? You can't capture that in any other job. I mean, you can't. It's just, it's part of the magic, man.
Around the water cooler and gossip about people at the office, I guess, is the.
Brandon Lewis said only an unmustached brother wouldn't say a mustache. Mustache. I feel like I'm saying
Thank you, everyone like you, Brandon.
Going to number 4. Who are the 4 people you would put on your Mount Rushmore of the fire service?
Yeah, so be honest with you, I have to have some honorable mentions. I couldn't narrow it down, and I know there's been some different routes taken.
As long as there's 4 when it's done, you know what I'm saying? That are definitive 4. Okay. Okay.
I know some people have taken different routes where it's people they've never met or people that have really impacted the fire service as a whole. My Mount Rushmore is about me, right? People that have impacted my career.
Okay.
So, I'll give you my Mount Rushmore, and then I'll give you my honorable mentions.
Okay.
The first 2 are guys from my job. Ben Thompson, number 1. Ben Thompson was the station captain. He was my counterpart. He rode the engine when I was assigned to the rescue at the current station I'm at now. Made battalion chief back in like December. That man, he was actually the one I was talking about earlier, talking about my Barnabas. Like he's my peer. He's the one that, you know, says I'll be a mentor to him, and I view him as a mentor to me.
Nice.
That man's taught me so much about leadership. It's insane. And he may just be calling me to talk. I don't know. But in my mind, he's calling me to talk to, you know, he'll call me and be like, hey, I got this going on. He won't tell me who it is or who he's having to deal with, but he'll tell me, you know, I got this going on. How would you handle it?
Right.
And hey, he just may be running it by me. I don't know. But freaking in my head, it's him being like, hey, man, like, let me put him through the paces and kind of give him the scenario and see what would he do.
Right.
He's taught me how to lead, how to keep my head calm when I want to yell at people. He's been a good all around friend and mentor. Been one of the biggest impacts on me as far as leadership and growth as an officer.
Love it.
That's number 1. And number 2 is my good brother OJ Kaloje.
OJ.
I wouldn't be where I'm at on this side of the fire service as far as the instructor side without him.
Right on.
When he started Magic City, I came in as a kind of a junior instructor, and there's been a lot of changes over the years. Most of our instructors don't teach with us anymore from the original crop. But yeah, over the years, the friendship that's developed, the growth, the fact that I can call him anytime I need to, and it can be a question about, you know, a job or about leadership stuff or just chit chat. Like he's had a profound impact on my career. So that's number 2. Number 3 and number 4 are people that have impacted my career. I know them both personally, but they've impacted my careers for different reasons. So Cody Trestro.
Nice.
I throw him out there because of just the movement he's created in the fire service, right? The firemanship movement, it's impacted me personally, just being able to get on board and not talking about the conference, but just what he's pushing, right?
Right.
That's that I'm able to hold on to. And I think for me, it's impacted me personally, but it also it had a major impact in the fire service, especially with the generation. That message that for them that he puts out there, just incredible. He's done amazing stuff, and I think the fire service is a much better place because of him. And then lastly, Chief Height, right? So Chief Ike's done amazing things for me personally. I've been lucky enough to be included as part of the green team. Had the pleasure of running logistics down there. I've had the pleasure of teaching a couple of times down there, helping out in little places. But just what he's done for me for my career, I think the path that I've taken is somewhat because of him. I went to Pensacola for the first time in December of 14 for H-Rock.
Okay.
I guess that was the second H-Rock. And have you ever seen the speech that's on YouTube? Well, his real...
in all likelihood, yes, but I need
I'm
more
sure
information.
Man, I can't remember what it's listed as on there, but he gave a fiery speech the first or second morning of H-Rock in 14. And it just hook, line, and sinker, right? Like I was...
Oh, dude, yeah. I could get you if I could give a pulse to a rock, man. He'll get it fired up.
I didn't know who he was before I went down there. I literally was looking I worked downtown at the time, and I was looking for information on high-rise stuff. And I was like, this is only 4 hours away. Let me go to it.
Right.
And what I found when I went down there was just incredible, right? And meeting people.
Yeah, the networking, the people, the passion, all of it. Yeah. His impact is so powerful, man. It's insane.
Insane. A profound impact on me personally, but also professionally, and also the impact he's had on American Fire Services is
that's awesome.
All
four.
Yeah.
I love the reason for all four. And OJ, Cody, Ike, and I don't know Ben Thompson, but I understand the personal impact, and that means a lot, man. That means a lot. And you mentioned him early in the show, so you brought up full circle.
Yep. And then my 3 honorable mentions. My first company officer was a guy named Jason Ingram. Man, I just coming up young, like I inspired to be like him. Truck guy by trade. He really took me under his wing when I was a rookie. When I should have been, we'd go to a fire, and when I should have been on the back of the engine up there packing 5-inch, he would have me pulled aside, and he'd be taking me around while he was doing the final walkthrough of a house or an apartment building or whatever, and teaching me things, simple as how to tell smoke from steam when you're done overhauling, when you're ready to pack up and leave. And then 2, his level of calmness on the fire ground. I'm like listening to him command fires when he made captain, and I would ride up in the car, listen to him command a fire with a kid trapped one time, and just talking on the radio like it was nothing, right? So he's had a big impact on my career. Another one was a guy named Ken Horton, was my lieutenant when I was at Quint 20 and Rescue 20. He won me over. He came in. I was already there. We had our lieutenant leave. And he came in. I didn't know him from Adam. And he won me over in like 2 shifts. And I can't really go into details about what happened, but the level of responsibility, he was a probationary lieutenant. And the level of responsibility that he took for me to make sure I didn't get in trouble for something was, I'm ashamed to say I probably wouldn't have done it.
Right.
Just,
no, I know the feeling. Yeah, that power.
What he did to protect his guys, and we didn't even know each other, but I was his guy. I'd do anything for that man. And then lastly, Battalion Chief Adjutant Raymond Williams, one of the most senior guys on Birmingham Fire before he retired. He was the one I was referring to earlier, where he kind of had the dad, "I'm disappointed in you."
Right.
Just never wanted to disappoint that man, but another just calm incident commander. Nothing rattled him. He would just the way he would talk to you in the station was the same way he talked on the radio. It was insane. But that's my Mount Rushmore plus some.
Mount Rushmore for 7. Nice, brother. I love it. I love the 4. Max points 4 for 4. Heavy fire. This is the final question. Everybody knows it's coming. Heavy fire and searchable space. Would you rather be assigned to the nozzle or first in on VES?
Oh, VES all day long, right?
I was going to be surprised, but you never know which way it's going to go. But I was going to be surprised if you went for the nozzle.
I'm not gonna lie, the nozzle's fun, but I enjoy truck work. I enjoy searching. I enjoy tearing stuff up. And then I always like to make the joke. You know what they call Metal Day at FDNY, right?
Truck Appreciation Day.
Appreciation Day.
I was trying to get it right.
Yeah. No, man. It's. I have a passion for truck stuff. That's kind of traditionally at our department with the rescues. You're going to get assigned, either outside truck functions or RID or search or something like that. And two, I think those are some of the easiest skills to develop on your own, right? Like if you got going back to somebody talking about earlier with trying to lead from the back seat with culture, it's one thing to ask your company officer if you can go out there and stretch a hose line, take the engine out of service, all that type of stuff. But there's nothing to keep you from pulling it out of the bay and grabbing that 24, that 28, and getting reps.
Right.
And I think as a young firefighter, that was a thing for me. It was easy to practice truck skills, and I just fell in love with it.
I love it. I love the answer. I love the reason why. And there's no wrong answers for any of these. It's always the reason why that really gets me. The explanation. You know, 100%. And Rob Fisher says the last answer should always be VES. So, and I think that's my answer. I think that's typically the answer I give, although there's some where I've really seen my own personal answer, but that's because, man, I just want to, if we're going to make a grab, I want to be there making it.
Yeah.
But I can't knock people who want to be knocking down flame, knocking down fire, making, anyway, I can't knock it. There it is. Officially, the 5 questions for firefighters, according to Clay Magee, officially max points 5 for 5. And that officially makes it 209 scraps in the books. My man, Clay Magee, thank you, first of all, for sharing your evening with us all. If someone wants to get a hold of you or reach out to you, what's the best way to do that?
Yeah. I'm all over social media. I say that Facebook only, Clay Magee on Facebook. I got no problem giving out my phone number. It's area code 601-750-9363. Or you can email me at bham, BHAM, firemedic@gmail.com.
There you go. Man, I love it. Back to real quick. Oh yeah, I want to say this. Like you can see, when you watch the late night show and it says like Jimmy Fallon's wardrobe provided by whatever suits. This is En Route Graphics. This is their new hat right here, and then the shirt also. My goal here is eventually I will never buy another T-shirt. So what I want is if you have a Fool's chapter, if you have a training cadre, send me or you make apparel. Send me your stuff. I'll wear it on the scrap. That's my goal. That's the reason I do that. Go to firehousevigilance.com, become a vigilante, be one of the cool kids. Vigilante meetup at conferences. We got one coming up in Arkansas at the First In conference. It's going to be a good time. Just another bonus besides the exclusive swag, exclusive content. We did a question and answer the other day, and Kyle Romagus is coming on next week for the 12th forum. I think it's the 12th or 13th forum. It's a lot of fun. A lot of fun if you're not a part. The badass scraps continue. Next week, Jonah Smith, his rescheduled scrap. Then Jeff Rothmeyer. Man, I just wrapped up. I've been reading his book for like 60 days. I'm a pretty fast reader, and I've literally been reading. I wish I'd have brought it in here. I'd show you how many stickers and how many highlights I put in it. Unbelievable. Mastering the Craft. That book is awesome. Followed by Brian Richards after that. So the killer scraps of 2023 continue. Very important. Write this down. There is 85 days and a few hours, give or take a few hours, until registration opens for Firemanship 2024. Mark your calendars for November 27th, Cyber Monday. All right. My brother, Clay Magee, thank you for being such a phenomenal guest. Vigilantes, if you're going to be a part of the scrap after party, look in the private group. I will post a link and we can critique Clay and all that good stuff. That's it, man. Another one in the books. Audience, you make the scrap magical. I appreciate all of you logging in, asking questions, making the comments. Without you, it'd just be me and Clay having a conversation, which is fun. But with the audience, you guys are really what makes the scrap so enjoyable. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for tuning in live. I love you all. Clay Magee, thank you for spending the evening with us. I'll see you in just a few minutes in the scrap after party. Everybody remember, mutts don't scrap. I hope the tone stays silent unless it's burning. Everybody stay safe out there.